and welcome to Candidate Question Time. My name is Lucy and I am a school MP for Maths sitting on our Parliament. Welcome to our Candidate Question Time. I will be your host for the next hour and a half as we shine the spotlight on some of our President and Vice President candidates and give them a little bit of a grilling. Candidates you'll be meeting tonight are running for full-time paid positions paid over £22,000 in our student union. If they are elected, they will work hard to represent you and make positive change and beyond. You might not realise this, but your officers are there to represent you and are often the only students in rooms full of university staff and will be asked what students think about issues like this. It's really important that you use the candidates you think will have the best ideas and will do the best job. If you don't think any of the candidates running are suitable for the positions, you can always vote for Ron or reopen nominations. So how is tonight going to work? The candidates will have a brief chance to introduce themselves, then there'll be 5 minutes and 5 questions to answer anonymous questions from students. We've had loads of questions answered and submitted this year. If you've sent in one and it hasn't been answered tonight, then don't worry. I'm sure our candidates will be able to answer your question away from this stream. You can track them, just reach out to them online or read their manifesto page on the union website. Candidates will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question, and after that, they will then have an opportunity to say a few final words. Once candidate question time is over, fingers crossed we finish at 7 p.m. and on time tonight, the voting will open. So we're going to get straight into things and we're going to start with our Vice President Education candidates. As the name suggests, the person elected into this role will be responsible for everything related to academic issues. The winning candidate will be in lots of universities to make your educational experience better, and they will work closely with our amazing academic representatives to understand some of the issues that you're facing. This year we have 2 Vice President Education. We have Connell and Socken. Both of them join us tonight. We also have reopen nominations as well if you don't think either of the 2 candidates are suitable for the role. Dive straight into things. You'll have a minute to introduce yourselves to our wonderful audience at home. Then we'll move on to some tougher questions that have been submitted in advance. You'll have a minute and a half to answer them. After 30 seconds, say a few final closing words. I will give you a warning when you've got 10 seconds left. I'll wave my hands about, so do keep an eye on that. You will be muted as soon as your time is up, even if we are mid-sentence. So you have a minute to introduce yourselves. So first up, we are going to jump over to Socken.
My name is Socken Galadima. I'm a student, an MSc student of energy. I'm running for Vice President Education. That's basically.
Okay, amazing. And so, Connell, we will pass over to you.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Connell. I am a 4th year geography student and I am running for the position of Vice President Education. So over the last 3 years, I've actually been involved in a lot of things to do with the union. I've been an urban studies school officer, a class rep. I've also represented you at NUS conferences in Scotland and England. I've also been a class rep trainer as well. So I've been involved in a lot of things with the union and have a lot of networks and connections and relationships with people. One of the main reasons why I'm running for this position is because I really want to try and encourage the university to go beyond this transition back onto campus. We're on campus now. We need to think about these wider opportunities and experiences that students can have. And I really want to provide a lasting legacy as a result of potentially being elected into this role to make sure that your academic experience and your opportunities are the best that they can be. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, amazing. So now that we know who you are, we're going to get straight into the questions. 5 questions, 90 seconds to answer each one. So first up, we're going to start off with Connell. And the question is, what is the biggest issue affecting Heriot-Watt's educational experience at the moment?
Sure, perfect. So one of the biggest issues that I think is facing Heriot-Watt students' kind of academic experience right now, and something that has been a lot of students have had opinions about, is the UCU strike action. And this is something that I myself support. I think it's incredibly important that staff are paid equally, that they are in the right teaching conditions to then be able to support students. And right now we're seeing a lack of initiative and movement from the university on that. And as someone who's been personally affected by that, with classes cancelled last minute and not having materials to prepare for coursework and assessments, students want to be supported during this time. And I think what I would try and do to try and work on that is to work with the university to make them understand that staff conditions are students' conditions, and that in order for students to be able to get the most out of their experience here at Heriot-Watt, staff needs to be a key priority on that list. And I think that if we can prioritise that and improve that aspect of students, we'll see better feedback in student surveys, we'll have better NSS results, and we'll just have a better community overall and within academia, and get students motivated about learning again, instead of having these interruptions that can clearly be avoided by the university as well. So yeah, thanks.
Okay, perfect. So Sokin, same question to you. What is the biggest issue affecting Heriot-Watt's educational experience?
Issue affecting the institution is this issue of not recording of lectures. You find out that most of the some of the departments are not recording lectures. Students will go to class, then they find out that maybe you have some issues. You don't really, at that time, you didn't really get to understand what the lecturer was teaching. If it was recorded, you would come back home and replay that record. It would have helped you. But most times you find out some department will tell you they don't really record without any reason. There are all facilities for record. I don't know why they don't record. There are some classes you go to, just to press the button and record. Then you find out the lecturer is very reluctant to record his lectures. These are some of the issues that I felt it's so touching, and it's easier to understand things when you go back, most especially visually. You watch it over and over again. Sometimes you don't understand the lecture immediately, but when you rewatch, you get to understand better and you have a better understanding. The most important thing about education and studies for you to be able to pass successfully. And every material needed for you to pass, the lecturer is supposed to provide for you. You are paying for it, and the institution is supposed to give you every necessary support for you to pass. I think this is one of the issues I have that I think is a big.
Okay, so that is your 90 seconds up. It runs very, very fast. So time for question 2, and this time we'll start with Sokin. So question number 2 is, how will you support students struggling from the cost of living crisis to ensure that they get the best out of their education?
Okay. I try to suggest something like this. When I came to Heriot-Watt, one of the things I discovered was the high rising of rent. Students will have to pick work. They pick jobs for them to be able to meet up with their bills, and at the same time trying to study, which is one of the issues affecting them. And I intend, if I'm elected, I'll try to negotiate with the university to see how they can bring down the rent, because it affects students' education. In the place where you have to go to work before you come back to your book, sometimes you are very too tired. It's not everybody that is privileged to have 100% funding. So I will try to push the university to see how they can reduce the rent in the campus. Then physically, my office will be open for feedbacks and complaints when there are issues. Students will be able to report issues. Then we'll sit down and analyze it together. Then if there are things I can do to make the university come to the aid of those students, I'll try and put in my 100% to make sure.
Okay, and so now Connell, the same question to you. How will you support students struggling from the cost of living so that they get the best out of their education?
Yeah, fantastic. So one of the things I was actually part of last semester was with the community larder, which we have within the student union, and I was actually successful in securing £500 worth of funding from Sainsbury's to support that. So if I was elected into the role, I would want to work on that further and really kind of support that initiative going forward. It's proved really popular with students this year, and it's been a vital service for students to use to be able to have access to the basic necessities that they need on campus and off campus as well. So I would seek to secure further funding to that. Another thing that I would also do is potentially have food available or encourage students at student mentoring programs. So that's one of the things that I want to do as well, is have student-led mentoring programs across all departments. So there's potentially the opportunity to kind of encourage students at that micro level across the university to bring in some food and some basic other kind of necessities there for students to use when studying as well. And finally, one of the things that I'd like to do more of is engage in wider NUS campaigns. As I said in the beginning, I've been involved with NUS before. I was a delegate for the UK and for Scotland, and I've got connections and partnerships with people in the NUS, wider organisations. So I'd look to be engaged at wider national campaigns and also fight for funding that could be secured from the Scottish Parliament as well, and hopefully allow that to feed back onto campus here at Heriot-Watt. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to question number 3 now. Again, we'll start with Connell for this one. What is your position on the University and College Union staff strikes, or the UCU strikes?
Perfect, yeah. So I touched upon this earlier on. I'm personally in support of the strike action. I think that it's incredibly important that the union and the sabbatical officers and the people and the candidates who are elected into positions show solidarity with staff and in that position. You know, staff conditions are student conditions, and if staff aren't being supported by the university and the university are not treating them equally and not providing them with the right workload, or they're not supporting them in their health and well-being, or supporting them and be able to be role models for students, and allowing staff to be able to provide the kind of minimum level of standard of education that students expect, then that responsibility has to lie with those higher up in the university. So yeah, I'm very much kind of in support of the strike action, and I would seek to support students if that was to continue, if the university are not really kind of progressive on that, but also being able to find out how I can best represent students and ensure that they still have a level of kind of education and academic experience that's enjoyable and memorable for them, whilst also showing to them the importance of the movement and what can be done if it's achieved, basically.
Perfect. And so, Sokin, same question to you. What is your view on the UCU strikes?
Much as it's a proper demand from the staffs, you know, there's this thing about morale. Like when you are a lecturer, you're teaching and you're not really you've not gotten the good morale for you to teach. You cannot deliver good teaching. Actually, I was a lecturer before now, so I know how it feels. We've been going. I've been a union leader too, so we've been going to strikes, you know, before now. Sometimes, you know, if a lecturer is not actually getting proper wage, proper paid for what he's doing, you find him very reluctant. He's very reluctant in delivering in the class. So in as much as I am going to support them, but I will work towards the university providing a way of cover up, because I'm not against it, but it's now affecting the students. So I will as a vice president education, I work towards how the university is going to cover up the time the students are actually missing, you know, so, and see how everything will be balanced in, so that when staffs are happy, students are also happy. So it all boils down to understanding the times, understanding between the union and the staff union. So
okay, time for question number 4. For this one, we'll start with Sokin. An amazing academic representation team here at the Student Union, made up of our school officers, our school MPs, and our class reps. And so what will you do to support and empower our academic initiatives?
I didn't get the question, sorry. Can you
What will you do to support and empower our academic representatives that work at the Student Union?
Actually, I will try. You know, like I was class rep actually before now. So I've been working with the union, and I've learned a little thing about how things are done here. I worked with Molly. I've been having meetings with her, with the class reps. So what I'm going to do is more involvement, then try to get connected with the class reps, try to make sure everybody is doing his work, and then at a space where it's convenient for you. I'll try to bring you closer, then understand what is your need, then provide solutions to those issues, those solutions that we can be able to reach. As Vice President Education, you have many options of things you can do to help people representing in the student union. So in our meetings, if there are things that have to push with the president to make sure people working in the union are satisfied, I will do that.
Okay, and so Connell, same question to you. What will you do to support and empower the academic representatives at the Student Union?
So firstly, one of the things I would do to empower our academic reps is to think about how we can kind of revitalise the role. Right now, the benefits and the perks of being in the role they just aren't attracting students. And as someone who was a school officer this year and really struggled to recruit reps, I've seen firsthand the lack of interest from students, not the lack of interest in the value that the role brings, but more the lack of interest in just being able to kind of jump in and understanding the wider benefits of that role. How does that look to employers? How does that look? Maybe there's discounts that can be explored in the union. Maybe there's merch that can kind of build up the hype with the role, etc. So that's one of the things that I'd be willing to look at with the representation and democracy coordinator. I'd also be looking at something that Molly had done previously with the Your Voice project that was on Teams, which was it was a new communication kind of format that reps and students could use to communicate with each other. So that was started this year. So I'd be hoping to maybe take that forward and see if there's wider scope for that to be used to get down to that class level, and also to just be able to answer questions a lot easier, supporting reps and being able to provide a further kind of framework for that. I'd also be looking at training. So I was one of the class rep trainers. I went away and learned how to train up the reps. I'd be looking to see if there's a bit more structure around that for reps in the future.
Okay, so time for our final question submits. In this role, you will be in a lot of university meetings where you are asked, what do students think about this? How will you make sure you're representing the student voice? And we'll start with Connell for this one.
So I think kind of first and foremost, in order for the student voice to be represented, strongly and that being your main priority, you need to be willing to be transparent and to work with different members of staff in the university. The committees obviously serve a massive purpose for you to be able to achieve change in different areas, and having that understanding of where to raise the student voice and what aspects of the student voice to raise within those spaces will essentially allow you to gauge how much of an impact you're able to make. I think also as well, being able to network and understand who's responsible for achieving what change and being able to build up those contacts as well is crucial, especially if you've got an emergency issue. Say there's maybe an paper is not being posted properly, maybe there's a wider department issue. Being able to kind of distinguish and differentiate between who you need to speak to and who you go to approach different things is also really important. And finally, I also think that it's important for you to show to students the impact of these spaces, and being transparent in your message and transparent in the way that you communicate changes and how you show that to them as well, so they can also see that the university have these spaces and opportunities where you can represent them the best that you can as well.
Okay, and so now same question to Sokin. How will you make sure you are representing the student voice?
The first thing I will talk about is in any leadership position, you have to first have passion for what you desire. For you to want to become a union leader, you need to have passion for it. You need to have certain things that makes you want to be a leader. Those things are the things that are going to push you to do a lot of things for the students. I came into Heriot with issues. I had so many challenges. So these are some of the things pushing me. I would like to say that some of the things I talk to people about is the reason why you're studying is not because you're here because you want to fail. You actually don't want to fail. You want to pass. That's why you're here. You're studying to achieve knowledge. You're studying to have a better understanding of things. But in a situation whereby you find out that the system is not helping, is forcing you not to actually do well, it's not acceptable. So some of these ways I'm going to represent these students is to make sure that there are some certain things, like most of the things I listed in my manifestos, that basically the institution is going to help, is supposed to help the students achieve. But you find out that students are struggling through it, like issues of improper marks, issues of results not really placed well. You go to the canvas, you can achieve, assess some certain things. There are a lot of
Okay, so well done to both of you. That was your 5 questions done. You've now got 30 seconds to round up and to tell students why they should vote for you. So Socken, you've got 30 seconds. Explain to our audience at home why they should vote for you.
Okay. I want to tell the whole Heriot students that I and Cornell, we are all qualified, but I believe that in every role there are experiences, and there are experiences that you look at. I was a lecturer, I was a student union leader, I'm a class rep, and also a student now. So I think I understand some pains of the students, and I know how to handle issues as a lecturer. I know how it is as
And so Connell, 30 seconds. Why should students vote to you? Take it away.
If you want to vote for me for VPE, if you're looking for personalised development plans with personal tutors to improve, to take into consideration feedback, if you want to lead student-led mentoring programs, if you also want to think about wider experiential learning, go global, field trips, everything like that, vote for me. I've got the enthusiasm, I've got the passion, and I've built up tons of connections as well. So please vote for me for VPE.
Okay, amazing. Thanks to both of you. A big well done there. You got some very tough questions. Go pop your feet up, enjoying listening to the rest of the candidates. So we're going to move on now to our candidates for Vice President Wellbeing. Whoever wins this role will be working to improve the well-being of all students through campaigning, lobbying the university, and raising awareness around key issues. The Vice President Wellbeing is also the first point of contact for all issues related to equality and diversity. This year we have 3 candidates running for Vice President Wellbeing who will all be looking for your vote. And fingers crossed in the next second or two, they should be coming to join. Our 3 candidates running are Georgia, Azar, and Amit. And fingers crossed in a second, I should see them come up on screen. Okay, so I have Georgia and Azar joining us today. And hopefully you've just watched our Vice President Education candidates. So just in case you've missed out, you will get 1 minute to introduce yourself, explain why you're running for the role. I've then got 5 questions submitted by our very own students, which you will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer. And then finally, you will get 30 seconds to give your last pleas to our students, explain to them why they should be voting for you. I will also give you a little wave when you have 10 seconds remaining. So first up, 1 minute to introduce yourself, and we'll fire straight into the questions. So first up, we will have Georgia.
Hi, I'm Georgia, or G, and I'm your current Vice President Wellbeing at the Student Union. I'm also your NUS Scotland Delegate and Student Mental Health Agreement Lead for the year 22-23. I'm rerunning to be your Vice President Wellbeing for a second term, and the 3 key issues that I want to support you on are consent and relationships, the cost of living, and mental health. I want you not to just simply survive your student experience. I want you to have a great uni experience that you were probably all promised before you came here. I'm confident that my answers to the following questions will show you why I am the right person for the job and why you should vote G for Wellbeing VP.
Perfect. So as our 1 minute, introduce yourself, take it away.
My name is Azhar, as an international student from Pakistan, pursuing my bachelor's in business administration, and hopefully your next VP Wellbeing if Georgia takes it easy on me. And as part of like being the VP, my focus is towards like creating this diverse and inclusive environment where like everybody just connects, everybody is like can open up, share their feelings, and just be in like a union, like as they say, student union. So it shouldn't just be a word, but it should actually be union in reality. So I think that's it for me.
Okay, so just like in the previous candidate question time, we will alternate rounds. So some of you will have the opportunity to answer first. So the first question will go to Azhar. And the question is, what is the biggest wellbeing issue facing students and what would you do to tackle it? And you'll have 90 seconds to answer this one. So take it away.
Okay, no worries. From what I've noticed, I think the biggest issues would be like the issues with diversity, the issues of, like connecting with other people, distinct with distinct beliefs than your own. In terms of, I would focus on creating like a safe environment where everybody just don't feel the need to be judged. No judgment, supported from everywhere, regardless of their gender and sexual orientation, religion, or any other characteristics. Because I've also had my fair share of experiences of discrimination being from Pakistan. So, so I feel like eradicating all of these issues would be a very nice thing to do.
Okay, and so Georgia, same question for you. What is the biggest wellbeing issue facing students and what would you do to tackle it?
Thank you. So I think one of the biggest issues facing students is the increase in non-academic student misconduct. So an increase in inappropriate behaviour on campus, including something that I will abbreviate for reasons of sensitivity, SA and SH on campus. And the way that I will tackle this issue is to continue to push for a better reporting system in the form of report and support, as well as consent modules that will be integrated in induction for students. Moreover, I will work closely with nightclub partners to ensure that they have appropriate measures in place to ensure that you can have a safe night out if you choose to go out and engage in drinking and going into the city and that kind of thing. Student safety is always my top priority, and this is one of the key things that is affecting student safety right now. It's also something that the university are behind the curve on when you compare us to the rest of Scotland and the rest of the UK. And I'm currently in conversations and will continue to be in conversations to push for more action and for more resourcing and staffing in the correct areas in order to make a difference and to improve the reporting system and improve student awareness of the reporting system and understanding of how to report issues should they arise.
Okay, and so question number 2, this time we'll start with Georgia for this question. Equality and diversity are a large part of the Vice President Wellbeing's job. So how would you improve inclusivity on campus?
Okay, so I think a key thing to improve inclusivity on campus is to connect with our societies. So we have around 72 student-led societies, and some of those fall into our liberation category. And working with those societies is a key way in order to improve safe spaces for different protected characteristic groups and to ensure that the events and initiatives that the Student Union are working on are what students actually want. It's also important that our underrepresented students are catered for when we're looking at things like the cost of living crisis and mental health support, because this may require some different initiatives and more focus in certain areas compared to the rest of the wider student body. In order to support these students and to create an inclusive environment, I will engage students with the wellbeing group / student life group in order to get feedback, and I will improve our I will ensure we tap into equality and diversity funding at the union in order to fund events and initiatives for Black and minority ethnic students, LGBT+, disabled students, and women and non-binary students. A good example of how I did this semester is with the open mic night that we worked on with Heriot-WattSU Music Society and Cabaret Queer as well. Another example is the International Women's Day breakfast and afternoon teas, and the braai that we put on with the African Caribbean Society as well.
Okay, and so Azar, same question to you. How would you improve inclusivity on campus?
Like including more inclusivity within the campus. I feel like the first step is like to actually raise awareness, to actually tell people what are the advantages of having an inclusive environment, and what are the possible negative drawbacks of not having an inclusive environment. So of course, with more people knowing about the negatives and the positives, they will know what they're actually getting themselves into. A more inclusive environment will definitely help the overall well-being of all of the students. These issues that the students face right now, like discrimination and like inequality and all of this stuff, will be, of course, reduced by a lot if we actually start to promote awareness, promote the issues that come with not having inclusivity, and the positives with the equality. So I think that would be a great step to start.
Okay, so time for question number 3. For this one, we'll start with Azar. How will you get wider engagement from students to attend events?
I think like proper, because in this day and age, like social media, like in terms of like social media and marketing towards social media gains a lot of attraction. So I feel like marketing properly and marketing the events as marketing the events like as they're like great events and you cannot miss it. In terms of like that, I think would get a lot of attention, like in improving the social media platform, the pages on Instagram, and actually showing the events, having posters, so people actually know if the event is even happening, because sometimes some students don't even know the events are even happening. So proper marketing of the events, I feel like would definitely help.
Okay, and so Georgia, same question to you. How will you get wider engagement from students to attend events?
Okay, so this is something that we've actually struggled with at the Student Union since coming back to campus after the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think something that we've learned, especially in the last sort of few months, is that students aren't going to come to an event if it doesn't have some added value for them. During the cost of living crisis, students want food in their bellies and they want money in their pockets. So if an event isn't going to give them one of those things, then it's very unlikely they'll be able to attend if they have like a part-time job, for example, or they're studying or juggling many of the other responsibilities that students have. So events that we put on must have some kind of extra added value. Something that we've realized encourages students to attend is free food, for example. Everybody loves free food, some kind of free gift, some really helpful resources that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise if they didn't come to the event. And another thing that we've noticed, that it might sound trivial, but alpacas and therapists get you every time. So when we do have events like that we know that students always come along to, it's important that we have some kind of important message there for them, or maybe some support resources for finance or well-being, in order to add just that little bit of extra value for students, because they have to prioritize their time even more so now than ever before. So our events have to have real value for that.
Okay, so question number 4, and for this one, we'll start off with Georgia. Well-being links with lots of areas of student life, from education to community, just so happens to be that those are the 2 vice presidents. This often means there's crossovers in areas of work. And so what do you think the benefits and challenges of this will be as an officer team?
So I think I think the benefits of this is that there really is a lot of crossover between the Vice President Wellbeing, the Vice President Education role, and the Vice President Community role. This year, I've worked with the Vice President Education on issues such as mitigating circumstances, study sessions during strike action, and then with Vice President Community, there is a lot of crossover there with how we can work together to improve equality, diversity, and inclusion on campus. Some of the challenges are knowing how to prioritise and to stick to almost your own remit because there is so much crossover, and the way to overcome that is with clear communication within the team. Another thing as well is looking at really what your priority areas are within your remit, which I think my manifesto covers quite concisely. And if that needs to change, then it's something that's discussed as a team, what our priorities are. For example, again, this year, cost of living crisis very quickly became a priority for all of us. And we had to reshuffle the way that we worked around things. So clear communication within the team and ensuring that we're clearly communicating that back to students through student parliament as well.
Okay, and so Azar, same question to you. Crossover in areas of work as Vice President Wellbeing, what are the benefits and challenges to this as an officer team?
So I think the crossover would be like the potential benefits would be I think if there is proper collaboration between all of the areas of work, then like Georgie also mentioned, like you can set your priorities right. You can select what to do first. What has like more, what's going to be like more important at what time, and you can choose and you can pick and choose your priorities like straight. So and communication between communication of course always helps. Listening from others, listening to their ideas, what do they think it's valuable. I think it's going as a collaborative environment, it would be great.
Okay, and so time for question 5 out of 5. We're nearly there. We'll start with Azar for this one. The full-time officer roles work closely in partnership with the university to improve issues for students. How will you make sure that students know what you are working on?
So like being the VP wellbeing position, I think it's a quite an important position in this day and age. I would like my first priority would be like to create a safe and inclusive environment. And an idea I had in mind is like we should have like an open discussion session, and that could be online, completely anonymous, where people just share their problems. I think opening up and listening to others' problems makes you humble, and of course gets that burden for like removes the burden from your heart. This I think and this online session, you can share your problems, connect with your peers, listen to theirs, and be in a friendly conversation manner. Like you can even make more friends through that. And as an office, as a well-being VP, I would say my doors are like completely open. They can come to me as a friend. Anybody can share their own problems because I have a lot of my own. So, and it's just this open and communicative environment is going to be like I think would be much better.
Okay, Georgia, final question for you. How to know what you are working on?
Okay, so to let students know what I'm working on, I'll be working closely with the marketing team to ensure that my projects are on social media and the newsletter and on the website. I will talk to students as much as possible face-to-face, because that's one of the beautiful things about being back on campus now, is having face-to-face meetings with one student or groups of students. I will update Parliament with good quality accountability reports each month. And I will also look at combining the student life and wellbeing group to discuss the most pressing topics in order to get student feedback and also let students know what's going on and where we're at with projects. So we don't just tell them we're working on something and then all the updates just fall off. So I'll ensure that we close the feedback loop. When I tell a student that I'm working on a project, I'll keep them up to date on it. And if it has to be put on the back burner for one reason or another, then I'll be straight up and transparent with students and let them know exactly why that is.
Amazing. So well done. You've smashed your 5 questions there. You'll now have a final 30 seconds to remind everybody watching at home why they should vote for you, and be careful because it flies by. So we'll start off with Georgia. 30 seconds. Why should our amazing audience at home vote for you?
If you want a Vice President Wellbeing with a proven track record of securing funding and resources, ensuring student involvement in decision making, and finding effective solutions to your problems, then vote G for number 1, Wellbeing PP.
"15 seconds, amazing. So as our 30 seconds for you as well, why should everybody vote for you?
Let's just say it like in a simple terms. So if you want to support me creating this diverse, inclusive, and safe environment, promoting mental health issues, promoting healthy habits and lifestyles through workshop events or like sessions, whatever, and overall just fostering a sense of community, you're free to vote for me as your VP Wellbeing.
Amazing. Thank you so much to both of you. You've done a brilliant job there. Go put your feet up, enjoy, or imagine you're probably going to watch the rest of our candidates. Don't forget to go. You can check out their manifestos on our union website. You can also find individual manifestos on candidate Facebook pages and Instagram pages as well. And once the voting opens at 7 p.m, make sure to head over to our union website and cast it, where you'll have until midday on Friday to do so. So moving on now, we will have our Vice President Community candidates. The Vice President Community is there to make sure that most of your life at university outside of lectures. They will work to improve and grow our fantastic societies. They will lead on sustainability work, and they will campaign to represent students on issues affecting your lives away from university, like student housing and transport. This year, we have 1 candidate for the Vice President Community role. We have Sebi, and don't forget, we also have Ron. We open nominations. So Sebi now joins me on screen. Hello. So hopefully you've just seen our previous 3 candidates. So you'll have 1 minute to introduce yourself. We will then get cracking with our 5 questions submitted by our students, where you'll have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer them. And then you will get a final 30 seconds to explain to everybody watching at home why you should be VP Community. So 1 minute to introduce yourself. Take it away.
Hi, my name's Seb Marino. I'm a 4th year physics student, and I'm running to be your Vice President of Community. A few of the main things I'd like to focus on, if I'm elected, is to have more union-run events to take pressure off of just the society-run events. I think this past year has been mainly society-run events, and I think it would be great to have more events that take pressure off the societies. And also, I would like to work with the Progressive Student Society in their Help Not Harm campaign to try and reduce or increase harm reduction from drugs. And also, I would like to increase the variety of food available on campus and make sure that there's affordable options that are healthy. So thanks.
Okay, so question number 1. You'll have 90 seconds to answer this, along with the 4 questions afterwards. What specifically would you do to build communities on our Scottish campuses, not just in Edinburgh, but also in Galashiels and Orkney?
I would like to obviously go to, I know there's not a lot of societies running at these other campuses, and I think there should be a push to try and get more societies up and running. Obviously that would involve traveling to these campuses and engaging with the students, trying to spark some motivation to have some societies, show the positives of having these societies, things that we can offer these societies, more events for them to have an enhanced student experience. Yeah, cheers.
Okay, so question number 2. You talk about increasing events that the union run. And how would you make if you were successfully elected as Vice President Community?
I would work closely with the leader of commercial at the union, which is Stuart. He's actually my boss, so I know him quite well. And I would love to work closely with him in getting more events running, engaging with the students, seeing what events they want to see, I think it's important that we represent the diversity of the students in the events that we run. So making sure that there's an open line of connection and open communication with the students to see what events they would like to have, and working with the leader of the commercial to make these events happen.
Okay, question number 3. What was the President community to address discrimination faced by minority groups such as Black, Asian, minority and ethnic students, as well as students with protected characteristics such as?
That's a great question. I have already been speaking with societies such as the Afro-Caribbean Society and the LGBT Society, and seeing what they'd like to see this year in terms of how I can represent them. And I think creating more events that are to take away from just like drinking events or things like that, to have more safe spaces, not necessarily solely for a specific society, but to be included, like, okay, this event will be an LGBT plus safe space, and having more events that are just chill, like maybe a games night or something like that, where people can just come along and form new connections and attract new people into these societies. And yeah.
Okay, time for question number 4. Sustainability comes under Vice President community. So what is your single biggest goal around improving sustainability, and how do you plan to achieve it if you were elected?
I think just making sure that there's an open line of communication between the sustainability team, making sure that I bridge the gap between them and the union to ensure that all their voices are heard, to ensure that we're doing the best that we can. I don't want to make any promises in what I'm going to achieve by doing that, but I just want to make sure that there's always that open line of communication, and that I'm doing the best I can to ensure that everyone's voices are heard and that problems are talked about and addressed. So yeah.
Okay, and time for your final question. We know that students in Edinburgh are facing a housing crisis, and if elected, how would you go about tackling this?
I think continuing to help out with the support systems that have been put in place in the last year. I know Scott, the Vice President of Community, did a lot for helping the accommodation crisis, and just working closely with him to see how I can continue to help what they've been putting in place for the last year, and keeping also just communicating with the students, seeing how the accommodation is affecting them and what things they would like to see more of. So yeah.
Okay, well done. So that was your 5 questions submitted by our student. You will now have a final chance to tell students why they should vote for you, and you'll have 30 seconds, and be careful because it does fly by. So 30 seconds. Why should our students vote for you? Take it away.
I think that you should vote for me because I'm passionate. I'm very passionate about the union. I work there. I work cafe, bar, and I run events there. I co-run the open mic every Friday. So I think I've already proven my dedication to the union, and I would love to just have more accessible events, more events for everyone, to really reflect the diversity of the students. And yeah, don't be a silly goose, vote for me.
Thank you so much, Sebi. Big well done there. You absolutely smashed that, and well within your time as well. So hopefully you will be making your notes and hope a little bit of a better idea who you're going to be voting for. Don't forget, you can also check out our candidates' manifestos, where you can see more about their ideas if they are elected into their own positions at union.com/vote. You will see their manifestos next to their name on the webpage. You'll also be able to vote at 7 p.m. once voting opens time. So on to our final role now, which is the big one. It is our student union president. The student president is the figurehead of the union. They will work to improve the student experience here at Heriot-Watt, and will make sure that students are at the heart of everything the university and the union does. They are the person the university will turn to the most. They're expected to respond really, really quickly when asked challenging questions. They are also the main representative for our postgraduate students and work with our student representatives on our Dubai and Malaysia campuses. They also will deal with anything extra that comes flying into any of our FTOs. We have 2 candidates for student president this year. We have Scott and we have Anant. And I believe in a second or two, I should see Scott joining me on screen. Hello, Scott. So hopefully you've been paying attention to the rest of our candidates and hopefully you know the score by now. So we'll kick things off with a 1-minute introduction. You'll then have 5 mystery questions submitted by our very own students. And then you will have 30 seconds to round off and tell our audience at home why they should vote for you. So we'll start off 1 minute, introduce yourself, take it away.
Thanks very much, Lucy. Hi everyone. I'm Scott. I'm run to be the president for this upcoming year at the Student Union. For the last 8 months, I have acted in the role as Vice President Community, and then most recently, for the last few weeks, I have been acting in the role as President. Now, throughout that time, I have been a fierce advocate for students in everything that I do in my job. So that's involved being the lead on the UCU strikes, so communicating with students to help them understand why staff need to strike and why they should stand in solidarity with those staff. I've also been fighting for students both within Heriot-Watt and nationally for the cost of living crisis provisions. That's involved introducing emergency accommodation both within Heriot-Watt and then holding local politicians to account to introduce more tailored approaches for students struggling with their finances at university. So for a strong leadership, vote Scott #1 for president.
Okay, so we'll jump straight into things now first. So the president sits in high-level meetings, often with university executives and senior staff. How would you ensure that student voices are heard, listened to, and acted on by the university?
So as I said in my introduction, I've been acting in the president's role for a few weeks, so I have sat in some of those high-level meetings already. Within my role as Vice President Community, I also held the university account quite often to provide better local cost of living crisis provisions for students. Everything that the president does should have students at the heart of it, and I've got a track record of doing that. So like I touched upon, I've helped introduce emergency accommodation for students who came to campus and couldn't find anywhere to live. We also waived late enrolment fees in first semester for students who are awaiting academic misconduct outcome or appeal. On top of that, we're fighting for extra staff down in SPC to help with events and social community. I think rather than saying how I'll do it in the future, I've said I've already been doing it and I will continue to put students at the heart of that.
Okay, time for question number 2. How will you lead and work with the 3 vice presidents of community, education and wellbeing to have the most impact for our students?
So I think it was touched upon earlier in one of the questions for one of the other positions. Is there's a lot of collaboration with the vice president roles, and I think the key thing to distinguish is when a vice president is taking a leadership role in something, and when the other vice presidents can support them. So a lot of that is about communication and planning, making sure that we know who the leader in that campaign, event, initiative of that remit is, and then we can discuss how the other vice presidents and myself can support them achieving what they want to achieve within that area. On top of that, if there's any other jobs that they think they want to continue with or they want to progress, but they don't feel they have the time or the expertise, I'm more than happy to pick up some of that work and do the best I can for them.
Okay, time for question number 3. How do you approach working with the university, especially when yourself and university representatives might not agree on the same things?
So essentially, in the university's eyes, us as full-time officers are the experts on student issues. So it's always about reminding them of that. We're in these positions to remind them to put students at the heart of everything. And when we do disagree, it's about knowing which approach to take, explaining what our position is, understanding what their position is, and seeing if there's any compromise that we can reach. Because there's often issues that we'll disagree on, but it's about what is the most achievable outcome for students and what we can do to make sure that it's the best experience that they can have while they're at Heriot-Watt. So that involves networks that I've already built. I've been really close with a lot of the university executives, building those networks and making sure that we have those networks for the benefit of the students, not the benefit of the university. So we continue to develop them, and holding the university account when needed, and then understand their position to compromise to get the best outcome for our students at Heriot-Watt.
So time for question number 4. How will you make sure students know what you are doing in your role?
So yeah, I think we're still in a bit of a hangover period from the pandemic and COVID, and there perhaps has been a bit of hesitancy getting back in front of students and remembering what the union used to be and the presence that they used to have in education spaces and lecture spaces on the bridge link. So keeping the digital version and updates that we currently have and are quite established at the minute, but then also encouraging us to get back in front of students, get in the classrooms, get in the social spaces, hold more union-led events. So they're not coming to find out what I'm doing, but I can attend the events and let them know if they're interested. It's about having a multi-angled approach because during the pandemic we only had the digital approach, and I think we're a bit stuck in using that the majority of the time when we should be in face-to-face and encouraging students and telling them what we're doing, and getting feedback on what they think we should be doing as well.
Okay, question number 5. What made you run to be president rather than run for a vice president position?
So yeah, like I said in my intro, for the last 8 months, I have been in the office of Vice President Community, and I've loved my time there. I went in for that role with the hope to help students thrive while they're at university, but in reality, 80% of my time has been making sure they just survive through cost of living provisions, wellbeing provisions, financial provisions. So moving up into the president's position, I thought it was important to think of those longer term solutions. In these last 8 months, we've found these short term solutions that have been fundamental to help students continue their studies. But I think we need to have a longer vision now, and let's think of why these problems are where they are and how we can find solutions that mean that it isn't going to occur in the future. So yeah, I think the president's position offers that direct contact with the university to try and come up with these longer term solutions for students.
Okay, so you were told in advance to have 5 questions submitted from our students. However, as student president, you would have to get used to some curveballs, and so we're going to throw you a bonus question. So question number 6, and I promise you it's only one bonus question. What would you do as president to improve the postgraduate experience at Heriot-Watt?
So yeah, the higher education sector as a whole has forgotten about postgrad research students specifically for 5 to 10 years. So in the recent time that I have been in the president's position, I've already tried to build that communication with the postgrad research students. At the minute, I don't think they feel that the union accurately represents them. So we need to build on that communication and make sure they know that we're here for them as well. Once we build that communication, then we have that line of contact to understand the academic issues, the research culture, and we can really challenge the university to improve that. So throughout my time and the rest of my tenure for the next 2 months, it'll be building those community events for postgrad students, building that communication. So then when we come to the more important issues, the educational issues and the research issues, we have a direct and a healthy relationship with those students.
Okay, well done. So that was your question submitted by our students through. So you'll now have 30 seconds to sum up why everybody watching and all of our students should be voting for you to be student union president. So take it away.
Yeah, thanks again, Lucy. So, I've been in the student union for nearly 6 years now, 5 years working here, 8 months as vice president, and now almost a month as president. And don't get me wrong, this job is really, really hard. And I wouldn't run for this job if I didn't think I was the best person for it. Everything I've done while I've been at the student union has always been for the students. So yeah, I wouldn't run for this position if I didn't think I was the best person for it, and I was going to put students at the heart of everything that I did. So yeah, vote Scott, number 1 for president.
On time at 30 seconds there. Well done. So thank you very much to all of our candidates who have came along tonight, and thank you to all of you at home for watching, for submitting your well. Voting will open now, and you can head to the union website, hwunion.com/vote, and you can have your say. When you come to vote, you'll be asked to rank the candidates in order of preference. It just means that if your favourite candidate doesn't get enough votes, then your vote will be moved to your second favourite candidate. And don't forget, you can also vote. I really do recommend that you check out the candidates' manifestos to get the clear picture of what they would do if they were elected. You'll also be able to find out on the candidate manifestos how to reach if you have any questions about their campaigns. Voting is open now, and it will be open until 12 o'clock midday this coming Friday, the 17th of March. We'll announce on Friday evening in zeros at the Student Union. They will also go online on our socials as well. Please also remember you can vote for our Student Member of Parliament roles and positions. If you are a member of our sports union, you will also be able to vote for the sports union president, vice president, and sports union executive committee. And the most important thing is that you get your say on who is representing you in the next academic year, even if you are graduating. Use the link hwunion.com/vote to check out all of the candidates and use your voice, and you can scan the QR code that will appear on the screen too. Thank you so much for watching, and in case I haven't mentioned it already, voting is now open, and make sure to go and vote this week.